Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Tony Hollis Live Talk Show Testify. As promised, today I will be having with you, and myself, of course, a guest, state representative candidate, Mr. Gary Tobar, and Team Tobar will be here with us today. We will hear from him. Uh, where he will share with you why he believes that he is the better candidate to serve you for District 55. But before we get to my guest, I just want to go ahead and send out a few announcements, of course. Uh, Again, I like to make sure that all of you get out to vote. Early voting begin, I believe, on April, I want to say April the 19th, I believe, is when we will have the early voting. And so hopefully you all will get out and take advantage to exercise your civic duty, get out and vote. This is a very critical election um, for most of all of us. And so please do get out to vote. Again, I believe early voting begins, there you go. Early voting starts on October the 19th, 2020. Okay, that's when early voting starts. I also want to for us to be very mindful that we're yet in a pandemic, and so please govern yourself to social distancing. Okay, keep that 6 foot spacing as much as you can. Wear your mask. All right. Now, I also want to send out, somewhat of a notice. Um, Many of you have already uh, read in the paper to where the Blava Police Department, they are keeping an eye on house parties, gatherings, if you will. And it's my understanding from reading the paper that they will be uh, issuing out citation and perhaps making arrests. And so please govern yourself. If you're going to have any types of gathering, make sure that you follow the CDC guidelines in terms of masks, in terms of, you don't want to go ahead and be so congested in your spacing or what have you for the square footage, the place that you're holding these gatherings. You want to be mindful that you must practice social distancing. Of course, that's another topic that we'll talk about in terms of why I believe that this issuing out citations as well as making arrests, I think it may run foul play to where it may be unfairly executed, if you will, in terms of selecting policing. But we'll talk about that. That's another topic, of course. Um, but again, we got three gentlemen that's coming on today. I'm going to let each speak to you and give you the first two guests that I have is Dr. Adams. Uh, I believe he served as public relation. He will correct me if I'm wrong on that, as well as Dwayne Mays. He served as campaign manager. He will correct me as well if I'm wrong on that. But without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. Of course, we have people done tuned in already. We have Mrs. Cannon there. She's watching. And so hopefully, we tried to broadcast today to YouTube as well as to um, Facebook. And so hopefully, between one of the two, many of you who don't get Facebook, you can catch us on YouTube. I think what you would pretty much key in for the talent, just key in State Representative Gary Tobar, and you should pull up that uh, this recording that we're doing now. But anyway, I want to also go to something else. Y'all give me a minute. Uh, I got something that I want to show you all. This is not here. This is not it here, but there's if I can find it, I want to be able to show an endorsement that has been made to Mr. Gary Tobar. Many in Arkansas know this gentleman. who I'm about to bring up. If I can find him, give me a minute. I had him all saved in my uh, in my link here, but unfortunately, I lost him when we was booting up. Of course. Okay, here we go. Right here. I want to go ahead and bring this up right now uh, to see if you all can see this. Let me go back to a share screen. I'm hoping that we get the share screen going right now. Go back up here. I think we got it in there now. Y'all just give me a minute. Want to pull that up. Okay. Now, we're going to go back. Uh, this gentleman right here, this is a gentleman um, that has pretty much been very inspirational, giving Mr. Gary Tobar a lot of support. I want to blow this up a little bit if I can. Um, Let me go up here and see if I can just blow this up just a little bit more for you all. But this gentleman right here, I want to go back and read this here for everyone. I'm hoping everyone can see that. If you can't, just shoot me a message. But this is Congressman Rick Crawford. This is a representative, United States representative for Arkansas. His name is Mr. Rick Crawford. Wanted to be sure that he want everyone to know that he endorsed Gary Tobar. Let me just go ahead and read that for you. Many of you that who perhaps can see that, I'm hoping that I've been having a lot of problem with my screen share. Hopefully you all can see that. But let me just read that real quickly. Um, I endorse Gary Tobar campaign for state representative of District 55. Tobar is the right person for the job and will work to ensure his constituents are well represented at the state level. I look forward to working together and being partners, advocating for District 55. Congressman Rick Crawford. Uh, so that was the congressman uh, sending out his endorsement for State Representative Gary Tobar. And so, without any further ado, I want to bring on my first guest, and his name is, I call him Dr. Adams. He pretty much can give you his full name himself. So, without any further ado, let's bring on our first guest before I get to the main candidate for today. We'll bring on Dr. Adams. And so, without any further ado, I want to bring on Dr. Adams and let him speak. Let me hide some of this stuff. Okay. How you doing, Dr. Adams? Can you hear me? I don't believe I can hear you. Let me see if I can. I don't believe I can hear you, Dr. Adams. Don't believe I can hear you. Let me see if we can go up here. Okay. I see what's. Okay, can you hear me now? Dr. Adams, can you hear me now? Let me see what's wrong with Dr. Adams. Give me 1 minute, Dr. Adams. No. Okay, can you hear me, Dr. Adams? We got some. How about now? Can you hear me, Dr. Adams? Can you hear me? Look like we got some audio problem with Dr. Adams there. Um, for some reason or another. Um, Let me see. Look like he's mute. Let me see if I can unmute him. Okay, you should be able to. You should be able to speak now, Dr. Adams. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? I tell you, What I'll do right now, Dr. Adams, let me go to the campaign manager and then I'll come back to you. I can't, it don't seem like I can. Okay, hold on for a minute. How about now, Dr. Adams? Can you hear me? It seems like we got some mute problems here, you all, with Dr. Adams. I hear something. Okay. That's something. It's not acting right. Let me see if I get. Okay. For some reason, Dr. Adams, your mute sound there, I can't get it unmuted. Can you sign out and come back in? I'm not able to hear you, Dr. Adams. Uh, well, let me go to campaign manager Dwayne and see if I can get him, and we'll come back because right now it's showing that your system, it must be in your setup there. It's showing that it's mute. I'm trying to unmute you right now, but for some reason or another, I can't unmute you. I don't know if it's on your end or what. Can't unmute your guests because they chosen to mute themselves. Dr. Adams, I'm finished sending you a message. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all give me a little time. I need to. You need to unmute yourself. Let me send Dr. Adams uh, a message right quick. Uh, Give me 1 minute, ladies and gentlemen.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. You had your mic mute. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I have. I'm able to hear you.
Okay, then. We're ready then. We're ready. Let me go back.
Oh,
Okay, you ready now?
yes, sir, I am ready.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the technicality, the technical problem, excuse me, with our sound system here. We do have Dr. Adams back now. As I indicated, this is the public relation chairperson. And let me go ahead and turn it over to him and let him tell a little bit about himself as he speaks. How you doing, Dr. Adams? Glad to have you today.
Good evening, and it's a pleasure to be here with you, Professor Hollis, on your show entitled Testify. And that's what we want to do. We want to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I believe that's what people want to hear. They're
All right.
tired of excuses. They're tired of hearing alibis, and they want nothing but the truth. And so that's why
Uh-huh.
we're here um, today to speak nothing but the truth. My name is Lee Adams. I am pastor of the Union Paradise Baptist Church. When I first got here over 30 years ago, we were located in a field in a little town called Clarkdale, Arkansas. And we have moved now on Highway 77 in Jericho.
Uh-huh.
I want to tell you that I have been a part of this community for 8.5 years. I served as vice moderator of the East Arkansas District Association. And as vice moderator, I was nominated first vice moderator by the late Dr. G.C. Simpson Sr. And for
Uh-huh.
8.5 years, I served. One of the things that I can tell you about that nomination, that when I was nominated by Dr. G.C. Simpson, I had no opposition. I served faithfully under Dr. S.J. Parker, First Baptist Church, West Memphis. And when he retired from moderator of the East Arkansas District Association, he recommended me as his successor. And I will tell you again that upon my nomination and election, that I had no opposition for the office of moderator of East Arkansas District Association. Served that in that capacity for over 8 years. Several years ago, one of our state officers, Pastor Bryant Whitted, upon his promotion to a state office as
Uh-huh.
executive vice president of Consolidated Missionary Baptist State Convention of Arkansas, I was nominated by him and approved by the president to become regional vice president, the office that he previously held. That
Uh-huh.
office is an administrative office which carries me from 40 miles out of Little Rock to our west, coming back all the way to Crittenden County, and then traveling north along Interstate 55 all the way up to the Missouri state line as a regional
Uh-huh.
vice. I am in charge of helping with the promotion of 6 district associations. Uh, I am very much connected to the people of Arkansas. As a matter of fact, I also have family that's in Osceola. Some of you in that area may know the Travis family. They are my cousins. Some of you may know the Jefferson families. They are our cousins. We migrated, our families, from Lexington, Mississippi, Holmes County, where our parents and foreparents were farmers. So we understand farming. We understand how our people worked hard and made low wages. And so we are very pro agriculture. I want to tell you that professionally that I am a US Army veteran. I did an overseas tour in the Republic of Korea, earned the E5 rank. I was promoted everywhere I went in the US Army. I am a graduate, attended on the GI Bill, the University of Memphis when it was Memphis State University. I obtained a degree in secondary education. My emphasis was in government and political science, speech and rhetorical theory, argumentation and debate, as well as earning an endorsement in the area of special education, of which I worked many, many years and work with special needs children. So I understand as well not only government, but I understand the needs of education and especially families who are dealing with special needs children. And so I was asked by Gary Tobar to come along on his campaign. And you and I know that traditionally, Tennessee, Arkansas, many of us, most of us, have been Democrats all of our lives. And so we have voted along that line. But we are here today not because of a party, because some of our good friends are also Democrats. And I want to tell you that I worked in the campaign of present State Representative Milton Nix during his campaign. As moderator, I allowed and I brought and encouraged uh, Brother Nix to come and speak to our district association. So I am fully aware that it takes bipartisanship to get things done. As a matter of fact, on the day of the election, Brother Tobar and I were at Milton Nix's campaign headquarters at his request as the votes came in. So we're not so staunch in our beliefs that we can't work together. And so we know how to work and we know how to partner with people on both sides of the political spectrum. I want to say
Well, let
to
me
you
ask you
that
this here.
and the demographics of Arkansas, that on the east side in Shelby County, that when I was in a meeting with the governor, he said we include Memphis and Shelby County as part of our Arkansas demographics. And we also include Texarkana, Texas as part of our demographics because we understand that issues just can't stop at the state line. And so I'm working as a public relations campaign manager, coordinator, person to help get the message out. And I want to thank you at this time.
All right, Dr. Adams, I see you got a real impressive, extensive resume there. Thank you for your service along the Tennessee Arkansas state line there. I'm pretty sure candidate Gary Tobar appreciate all your tireless work that you have donated to his campaign. Um, but I want to ask you before we move to the next guest, Mr. Mays, and I want you to hang around as well. But let me ask you something. There is a slogan that you all have somewhat created. If my memory serves me correctly, I think there was a slogan that you created. I think it was called "Raising the Bar." Uh, and I just want to go ahead and just allow you to speak to the audience I mean, just give us about maybe 3 minutes. Uh, put everything in this slogan that you have, raising the bar. First of all, what does that mean, and who are you speaking to?
Thank you so very much. Well, let me just use the analogy of sports because I am also a retired coach as well, won a state championship in basketball, 2009, state of Tennessee. But we all know that when it comes to track and field, especially in hurdles and especially in the high jump, that in order for you to be a champion, you've got to continue to get the bar raised. If you want to compete, you've got to go at a level higher than your competitor. And so we can see that here in District 55, that for so long, that expectations have not been raised, but they have been lowered. And in every area, in agriculture, in business, in community, in development, and in education, the bar has not come up to where it needs to be. And so when we say up raising the bar, we're talking about every facet, every area in which the citizens of District 55 are affected. And we want to raise that bar higher and higher and higher so that people will have pride and take pride in their community, take pride in their schools, take pride in business and industry, take pride in their neighborhoods, their homes, and their families. And unfortunately, I don't find a lot of people who are really happy and satisfied with the direction in which their district is going right now. And we're saying that our campaign slogan is not just a slogan, it is what we believe, that we must raise the bar for everyone. And if you allow us to do that, you will see a difference in what we do. All right, thank you so very much. I don't know if I went
All
over
right.
3 minutes, but that
Well,
is
all
what
right.
praise is
Well,
actually
I think
all
you
about.
pretty much summed up that show. I'm pretty sure it resonate with uh, many voters. That is, and so again, thank you for just putting some emphasis on it in terms of explaining to the audience exactly what was that term. Let me go to brother Mays right now, who served as the I think he served as the campaign manager, I believe. Excuse me. Uh, so without any further ado, I want to bring on brother Mays. Uh, Let me try to see if I can go ahead and work my magic on here. Solo out, solo in. Okay. Let me find it. Oh, there we go. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Good. How are you this evening, Tony?
All right. I see you all sitting as a team today.
Yeah.
Campaign manager and candidate himself,
Oh, yeah.
both in the flesh.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, let me turn it over to brother Mays. Serve as the campaign manager, correct?
Yes, that is
Go
correct.
ahead and I'd like for you to just go ahead and share exactly uh, where do you have the campaign at right now in terms of some things that you guys have been doing for us hitting the campaign trail, that is. And so just give us an update in terms of where we've been to where we at as we sit here today.
Okay. Well, first, Tony, I want to say thank you for
Oh, you're
hosting
welcome.
on the show. We know that you've been doing a lot of advocating in this area for this community, and
Uh-huh.
we want to thank you for being patient with us as we have moved through this campaign trail, is to have an opportunity to come on the show. So thank you for that.
Hmm.
Also, we want to thank all of the listeners that are listening today and this evening. Coming on is to learn more about candidate Tobar and the reason why he's running. We also want to say that some of the things that we've been doing in the campaign, we are number one, we are people and community driven. And through that aspect and through that mantra for this team, we've been able to serve in a volunteer capacity uh, since June of this year through the Tobar 501c3 community distribution program, where we've been able to serve upwards of 50 to 60,000 individuals, if not more,
Hmm.
with our food program, in which we have distributed over 600,000 pounds of food in the community from the Boot Heel of Missouri throughout all of District 55, even into Memphis, Tennessee, West Memphis, as well as Mississippi. So we are an inclusive campaign. We are very involved, and we believe in sharing and helping others all along the way. So that's one of the things we've been doing. We've also been in your neighborhood, and we've been going out canvassing and just spreading the word, letting you know that candidate Tobar is out there, and he's running for state representative for District 55, and sharing in your concerns. So we not only are just making you aware that candidate Tobar is running, but we're also hearing your concerns so that we will know and be spot on for what we're advocating for once we get to Little Rock beginning at the first of the year. And so we want to say that we're 29 days from Election Day. We're about 15 days away from early voting. So we want to encourage everyone is to get out and vote. We also encourage you go to the campaign webpage, which is at www.garytobar4, that's spell out the word FOR 55.com. And so we ask you to go there. You can also make donations there. So we're still accepting campaign funds.
Give us that website again.
GARYT as in Tom, OB as in boy, ARFOR 55.com. So that'd be first name,
Yes.
last name. Yes.
Gotcha.
All right. And so we encourage everyone to go there. Also, you go there to our camp. That's the same address for our campaign page, our Instagram, Twitter. And so if you're interested in volunteering, we invite you to come out with us and volunteer with us. Hit us up. You can either see Dwayne Mays on Facebook, inbox me. My name is spelled DWAYNE. Last name is MAYS. Inbox me, and you would like to come and volunteer. We're a very inclusive campaign. And so, just a couple things we want to touch on, Tony, and then we want to hear from the candidate because it's not about me, it's not about Dr. Adams, it's about candidate Tobar and the constituents hearing from him. I like to
Just want to interrupt you for a minute. Make sure we get the website correct. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Gary Tobar for 55.com.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. I'm
Okay.
sorry to interrupt you.
All right, no problem. And so, want to encourage everyone to think about this environment that we're in. We've gone from a pandemic to a panic to protest until now. We're trying to figure things out. And so, what we're going to include, we want to think about, even into the Black Lives Matters people have touched, and this is a very sensitive topic. We want you to understand that we as a campaign do understand, but most importantly, we understand the word systemic. And systemic is just simply meaning we continue to do the same things over and over. And so what I'm challenging the constituents in District 55 is to change the ball game. Don't continue to be systemic with your voting. You understand that our area is in need of dire change. We're in despair, we're on life support and in ICU. And it's time for a change. And the way to make that change is to not continue to be systemic with your voting. I'm going to share some information with you that you will be able to go and research your legislative voting record for legislators for the state of Arkansas. I challenge everyone is to go to Conduit for Action. Conduit for Action, you will find how legislators rank in this state. We understand that from an 8-year tenure of the current representative, out of 100 representatives, you will see that he ranks number 92. That's a question to ask him, why hasn't he in 8 years increased in his ranking as a legislator, and says that he's yet a leader and a champion for District 55. Another, go to the Family Action Council for Arkansas. We live in America's heartland, the Bible Belt, and this is considered our core values and our principles is what's very dear to us and to our children and our families, and believing in traditional marriage. So if you look at the legislative voting records from the Family Action Council, you will find that our current legislator gets a grade of an I. That means incomplete. And the reason for incomplete means that you did not cast enough votes to even get a grade. So we challenge you to ask your current representative, Hodges, why is he ranked number 92 out of 100? Why does he get a grade of an I? Because he's either a no vote, has voted absent, or has voted present during his tenure. Ask him, why is he going to Little Rock, continue to get dollars, taxpayer dollars, but yet he has failing grades on every report that you look at. Also, look at Voter Smart. And what we're sharing with you today is information that's public knowledge that you can go research yourself and see that we are sharing with you public information that all constituents have access to, and to hold your legislator accountable. Ask your current representative, why hasn't he passed any bills or legislation? And I'm going to let candidate Tobar explain the reason why he hasn't been able to pass legislation. And so,
Well, let me ask you this.
yes.
Go ahead. I just want to ask you one question. As the campaign manager, before we, as you indicated, we're going to let candidate Tobar speak on behalf of compare and contrast as it relates to bills and any other issues that you care to talk about. But as a campaign manager, Brother Mays, what has been the most challenging thing for you as a campaign manager reaching out to voters in District 55? I think it's fair to say that District 55 is a predominant black district, correct?
That is correct.
Now, for us, have it been pretty challenging to you considering most individuals in District 55, when I say most individuals, I mean people of color, African Americans, they have a history of voting blue. So, in terms of the challenge for you, uh, how much of a challenge has that been for you as a campaign manager trying to persuade those blue bonnet, blue born Democrats to convert over to vote for your candidate? So quickly, just give me about maybe 3 minutes before we turn it over to the candidate, please, sir.
Well, first of all, Tony, in the last campaign, I say it was a challenge because of being in a systemic environment, understanding you just continue to do the same things over and over again. We understand that we as African American people have been culturally voting a certain pattern, not looking at the values and principles of what each party stands for. This time is not a challenge because we find that a lot of people think the way we think. And I wanted to make the record straight is that we're not trying to get people to change parties. We're just simply saying, vote for the best person who's going to be the voice and going to represent your interests and have access to the table to get your voices heard. So it's really not a challenge. There are a lot of people that we've spoken with that they're just not willing to come out publicly so people to understand how they're voting. But you need to understand that this district is a red district. It's just that culturally people think because the leader has always been blue for the last 30 years. But the true numbers show that this is the party district that we are aligned with. And again, we are not aligned because of a party. We're aligned because of our personal core values. We stand for, we believe in God. We believe in standing on our Christian values and principles. Number two, we do not believe, we're not liberal. We do not waver when it comes to abortion. We don't say that it's okay to live any kind of way in terms of what God's word says. We believe in traditional family, a husband and a wife. So these are just basic core principles and what we believe that we're standing on. It's our personal objectives and our personal beliefs. The reason why we are aligned and where we're aligned, we understand that both parties, if you want to go down the party route, both parties have their issues, and there's nothing that stands out with one party more than it does another. And so we're just simply saying, with that understanding, look at the best person for the position, the best person that's going to represent your ideas, the best person that knows how to connect the dots at all levels from a geographic perspective, from the platform that candidate Tobar is going to talk about, the ABCDE, from agriculture to business to community to development to education. You're going to hear that from him. You're going to understand why individuals have looked at it and have had a change of mind and saying, hey, it is time for something better. And so we can understand why you are the voice for the people. And so next, I would like for you to move to candidate Tobar so that he will have plenty of time to reach the people in respect of their time tonight.
Well, all right then. Of course, we're going to come back to you and Dr. Adams. I'd like to, if time permit, like to try to get in a few other questions in there. But without any further ado, I guess we can go ahead and just turn it over to the man of the hour. In the flesh himself, ladies and gentlemen, I bring to you candidate for District 55, Mr. Gary Tobar. Welcome, my brother.
Good evening, Tony. Thank you once again for you actually being the voice, being an outlet. Thank you. Thank
Uh-huh.
you for providing a service that so many now are beginning to tune in because of your willingness to yet be involved. And I want to say thank you for this platform.
You're most welcome.
Thank you. It's good to
So
be.
just give us a little bit about yourself. I'm pretty sure everyone know you. I mean, you're not a stranger to this area, but just briefly tell us exactly, a little bit about you, maybe on a personal note, moving into the area to where you as the candidate.
I was born
All
blind.
right. Some sense of
Yeah.
character you have.
Hey, hey. Uh, you know, getting getting to where I am, located near Memphis, Tennessee, born in
Uh-huh.
Memphis, right? Come from a small family of the 11, 9 boys, 2 girls, right? Uh, so very small, and by the late Mr. and Mrs. Tobar, and uh, always recognizing that from the demographics where we are and have been raised in, I was just less than 15 minutes where I actually was raised in a little town called Deckerville.
Uh-huh.
Deckerville. You get scooters, and they're like little small moon pies, right? And you
Mhm.
get a Coke back then for a dime. But yeah, and then we moved to Gilmore, Arkansas, and 1978. Grassroots right here in the Delta, small town where approximately 200 people live. But there was a nice young lady um, over 30 years ago ran from that same community by the name of Christine Brownlee. She put Gilmore on the map. She became our first uh, advocate as an African American liaison as a Republican here in this great state of Arkansas. And I'm from that same small town, worked on that campaign. And so much rich history come. I now presently live just 2 miles away from there in a small town, a little bit larger with bigger lights, maybe 3 more streets. Turl, Turl, Arkansas, right? And glad to be home in a community where I was a graduate, both junior and senior high school, class of '89, the Rockets. Uh, Proud to be home tonight into a community that has been known to do large things from small communities like Turtle. I presently now serve as the current pastor of a church called St. Paul in Hometown, Missouri,
Mhm.
where I'm very honored to serve there on the weekly service. Matter of fact, I just celebrated 4 years there. Very, very proud to be a part of that ministry, and they're allowing me to be a leader there. That God is still doing very enriching things. I currently has served in government approximately over the last 35 years of my life, being just community driven. I talk about the mere fact of not only just serving as a volunteer firefighter and also as a city councilman there in the city of Gilmore. Also resided and served on the Marion Volunteer Fire Department there in Marion, Arkansas as well. Served on numerous boards that I would not even dare get involved with, but a platform of list of going from hundreds to millions of dollars of boards that I've had the opportunity to serve as the chair of those committees and boards. Most importantly, second lieutenant in the National Guard, 1123rd Unit, Military Transportation, serve this country. And I feel very proud to say I'm proud to be an American. There is no other place I would rather be than to be in this great state of Arkansas in the country of the United States of America.
Well, all right. Let me just interject just one moment because I always like to try to uh, move into the area to where I'm going to give you an opportunity to sort of tell how you different uh, opposed to the candidate who presently has this position, Mr. Monty Hodges. But let me ask you something. Now, you and I have spoken before on this topic. I think it's fair to say, just like I asked the chairperson, Brother Mays there, probably what is it, about 2000 and I want to say 12, I believe. Up until 2012, it might be 2010. This state has really been a blue state. Uh, in particular, black people have voted blue probably since they've been born. I'm just being straight with you. Now, in the past 50 years, up under a Democratic governor, up under a Democratic state house, up under a Democratic state senate. Now let's add all that up as it relates to, when we talk about black people being represented. Uh, would you say in that 50-year time span, if you will, up under a Democratic governor, state house, and state senate, what would you say that have been the greatest benefit, if any, to black people in general who are accustomed to voting blue? I mean, should they stay with what they have? If so, why? Or should they give the Republican candidate, which is you, an opportunity to show how all the things that they might have lacked it over the last 50 years, you as the candidate, the Republican candidate, how can you make that different in terms of delivering substance?
Tony, thank you for bringing out the difference of the landscape. Yes, Arkansas, the landscape of Arkansas has definitely changed. And when you talk about for the last 30 years, approximately 30 years ago, yeah, we had a young, uh,
Look like we lost connection there. Look like we lost some connection there. Hopefully they'll come back.
with,
Uh,
I don't know who's calling us and they know we're on the Facebook Live. I mean, I don't know
yeah,
why.
I was meaning to tell you all to go ahead and put your phone on do not disturb. Let me know when I can't. I don't have you guys back yet.
Well, Dwayne, he's a technical guy here anyway, so I'm not that smart, right?
What I tell you, while you all are working with your uh,
Go back to
your
the
camera
message.
there, I'm pretty sure Dr. Adams
Adams, yeah,
heard
right.
the very same question that I posed. So let me just give him 3 minutes, and as soon as you all come back, I'll switch back over.
Yeah, we got to move.
Dr. Adams, how you doing?
I'm good.
Can
I've
you
been
hear me, Dr.
listening
Adams?
attentively.
Can you hear me, Dr. Adams?
Yes.
Uh, I don't know if you heard the question that I asked them. For a district that is predominant black, for the last 50 years, we have you know, voted Democratic, that is. And so I guess what I was asking candidate Mr. Gary Tobar is that in the last 50 years, we have gained very little in regards to um, substance. Uh, Look like we just about got them back. Uh, so let me go back to the candidate, Dr. Alex. Look like they back on.
Go ahead. Go right.
Okay, guys, all right, guys, we're back.
Yeah, can you see us?
I can see the candidate.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so we're back then.
Yes.
All right then.
Someone is unfortunately trying to reach out to Dwayne's phone while we're on live, so I guess they don't see that he's actually. They're not watching your show, and he didn't probably send that person the invitation to watch the #1 show right now that needs to watch your show.
All right,
So
I
if
sure
they're
appreciate
not watching
that.
Tony Hollis, they're not watching the right show. So,
But I appreciate that. I love my horn being too. So
that's
I
okay.
appreciate that.
But
But
Tony,
anyway, I was asking you before we went off. Go ahead and explain.
I was talking about the landscape of
Uh-huh.
this great state of Arkansas, understanding that our state is approximately 3 million. And when I say approximately, I'm just rounding off to about 3 million. You talk about 75 counties, all right? You talk about a state that has less than 15%, about 14.8% of the makeup of the state of Arkansas, African American. So when you talk about almost 250,000 African Americans that actually live, approximately 250,000 that lives in the state of Arkansas, and out of the 75 counties, we are living within the 10. Majority are living. 99% of us are living in the Delta, the 10 counties that make up the state of Arkansas. 10 counties along the Delta, the Mississippi River, where I was born, along the line, the Delta line. You're talking about 250,000 African Americans out of 3 million. When you talk about the 10 counties, you talk about the location from Mississippi County, the north, and go all the way up to Pine Bluff in that area. So the 10 counties that make up the majority where the African Americans live, that are the practice and the cultural of us actually being attached to a party for over the last 30 or 50 years. So that is why you talk about people is only voting culturally, not so much of understanding, but because of what Big Mama did, Grandmama did, Big Daddy, great grandparents did, 3 and 4 and 5 generations. And you ask the individual why you vote this way, that's what their answer is going to be. That's all I know. So when you talked to me 10 years ago, I was born again because I was a Democrat. Matter of fact, 90% of the state was Democrat. So anyone who understands that things have changed over the last decade, you will understand that our state changed, the identity of our landscape changed, and most importantly, approximately 74% of the state decided to make a bigger impact, and the only someone that stood still was the 10 counties that is still left, that is identified with the approximately 250,000 of us African Americans. So that's where you see the grassroots, where information has not actually been shared to say it's okay. It's okay to be born again. It's okay to revisit why we do what we do. It's okay. Instead of saying, we know there's something different, but we're not concerned. We don't want to embrace it. No. I think what has happened, Mr. Tony, over the last decade, understanding a grassroots, that a governor by the name of Winthrop Rockefeller, who was our first Republican governor, who actually made one of the greatest impacts in the state of Arkansas. Not only putting the emphasis on hiring the first African American in government in the state of Arkansas, but over 600 other African Americans were employed under his administration. You talk about a party or where the biggest impact that our people who failed to realize Christine Brownlee back in the 90s, an African-American female, were a party that we were all aware of. She wouldn't have a chance with 5 other candidates, but she ran a ticket with a party that was open and inclusive and not only gave her an opportunity, but she won in this same district. So when you talk about something that hasn't been done, no. Mississippi County, Crittenden County, this specific district, we have been known to do extraordinary things. Things that when we know things that has to happen, we make it happen.
Well, let me ask you this here. Look like I'm looking at my screen here. Every now and then, I always try to sneak in a question or two. Uh, Campaign manager Dwayne Mays, Mr. Mays, he indicated he was contrasting. What actually wasn't contrasting. He mentioned some things in terms of some bills as it relates to our present state representative Monty Hodges. Uh, and he mentioned, I think, what was it, Conduit for Action? I think that's some type of grading website or whatever. Uh, I had a lady on my show, Mrs. Miss Donna Audrey, back here a few weeks ago, and she brought out quite a few things in regards to the record of a state representative, Monty Hodges. Right here, let me just put something up on the screen for you right quick, and I want you to elaborate on this here, candidate Tobar. It got 2017. This is Miss Donna Audrey again. 2017 Family Council Action Committee. Okay, grade. I don't know what that stands for. You all can explain that to me. But grade I don't know if that's independent, incomplete, or what. But they get for bad. Uh, 11 not voting. Mainly abortion issues. We're talking about some women concerns now. Uh, 10 good votes. Total 25. 15, 25 need to vote. 15 to get a grade, something like that. I don't, maybe I'm not explaining this here, but I'm thinking 15 to get a grade, otherwise receive a grade I, incomplete. Why he is having a trigger from 2017 to 2019 not voting, absent or present. I think what she's saying is that, as it relates to women concerns or women rights, in this particular case is abortion. If I'm reading correctly, there either no vote or he was absent from voting on women's issues. Where do you stand as it relates to women issues in general, and kind of speak on his record in regards to either receiving a I for, I guess I don't know what that stands for. You can tell me, uh, or either absent or just not casting a vote. I mean, you could elaborate on that. Why would you think a candidate would not vote on women issues? Either he's absent or he just cared not to cast a vote.
Well, Tony, I think you've answered your question already. When you don't want to get involved, you just don't participate, right? But here's the thing about that. Your silence, when there's time to speak out and you don't speak out, your silence is saying it's okay. When a individual like a legislator who had sworn to not only with an oath to serve, to represent the constituents that have sent them there at large, to represent on their behalf and to speak on their behalf, and they go to the Capitol and they show you that they're there by all the snapshots, all the photos, got more visibility shots showing that they're there take out time to post it and let you know that they are there. Nice bow tie, a nice suit, and an empty briefcase. But show you, in a sense, that they're working and voting on the behalf of their constituents. But when you look at the record indicates I for incomplete. And incomplete, as you stated, it only equals to when you are not voting enough to even be graded. P means you're present, but you're abstaining from voting. So when one vote or say I'm present, but I'm not voting, guess what? You are voting. Your voting means no. A means for absent, but yet abstain. I means I'm not even involved. That's what the I really means. I don't want to get involved. So what our present representative, he is not willing to get involved. You know, you talk about the women issue, the women right, and I know that they probably read my article that I wrote when I first was actually filed. The Arkansas Gazette did a very short, brief representation about what some of the things I said and some of the things that they wanted to point out, that how the present representative has tried to be somewhat, has done some benefit with his voting practices. But the truth of the matter is, for District 55, the record indicates that he has not championed one bill. I'm going to say this again. He has not championed one bill for District 55 that not only has fostered and represented us as an impact of that result, but also out of approximately $6 billion a year that the General Assembly in each session that is there up for us to access, approximately $12 billion, that when you multiply 12 times 8, approximately $96 billion. This current representative has not championed enough money to even talk about. I don't want to talk about the 40,000 that he proclaims he sent over to the educational way over in Armorio. Let's not talk about $40,000 out of $96 billion. I won't even insult our current district to say who wants to raise up and say I brought some money back under $100,000.
Explain this $96 billion that you're talking about. Explain that.
Access the General Assembly. When you go into every session, we have approximately $5+ billion that is able for us to look at and to see what the budget will access for all 75 counties that would represent the entire makeup of our state. Out of that, each representative who will create bills, legislatives, identify the areas that really needs some of the greatest help within their district. That's where those state fundings and allocations can be allocated and brought back to our district.
Well, let me ask you this here. In regards to economic justice, okay? That's something that is dear to my heart, other than criminal justice. When we talk about economic justice, what we're talking about is trying to enhance the lives of the average citizen that live here in District 55. And I also think it's fair to say that for the most part, when we start looking at the wealth which one has obtained, there is such a disparity, if you will, or shall I say a wealth gap between people of color. Let me ask you this here. Why do you believe? Well, first of all, before I ask you this question, candidate, I wish I had a moment because I don't like speaking about a candidate without them being here to answer for themselves. But candidate Monty Hodges have really championed Big River Steel in terms of um, uh, other than his vote, voting for the bill itself. I think what was it, Amendment 82, I believe. Uh, Other than voting for this economic bill or Amendment 82, that actually is the purpose why, or I mean, excuse me, the reason why Big River Steel exists today. There is a lack of employment from Mississippi County, in particularly Osceola as well, because that's where the mill is built. There is a lack of unemployment when it comes to hiring uh, black people in general. Now, the state representative have championed that bill. So, is that first of all, is that a true statement that he championed the bill? The second question is, why is there a lack of black men and black women in general hired at Big River Steel? So,
Well,
first question, did he champion the bill? Second question, why is there a lack of black men and women hired at Big River Steel?
well, it depends on what part of that he wants to take credit for. Okay,
Explain
because
that.
well, when you talk about uh, $1 billion steel industry that comes that, and for the record, and I want to say this too, in his absence, and he didn't ask me to do this, but I always give honor where honor is due.
Uh-huh.
There is a champion for our Senate district, Senator Dave Wallace, that I must always recognize his continuing effort to
Oh, by all means, I work well with him as well.
work on behalf for the betterment of this Senate, of the district. 55 is a portion of his Senate district. And I must say that he is the hardest working senator that I have ever met, working on behalf of the people here in our Senate district. In District 55, only we are a benefit of some of the things because he's definitely been our champion. But when you talk about Big River and the reality of Big River and its conception, there is no fingerprint that current Monty Hodges has contributed other than when he went into office, how the bill is actually carried. It goes from the House of Representatives off the floor, and then it's carried to the Senate, and the Senate passes and it goes. Well, Monty Hodges just happens so to be in the same Senate district where the senators who have been the ones that actually championed, wrote, carried it out, and said when he went into office, since he was the current state representative, they gave him the honor and the privilege to simply carry it to the floor. It was already a done deal. So when you talk about champion, that is not the terminology there, because the individuals that are responsible for that was not Monty Hodges. Secondly, when you talk about the actual jobs that Big River has brought to our community by its forces, service, goods, and products, all of that goes within the same framing of how it was actually shared, packaged, and delivered in the conception of that actual legislative piece to go through. So when you talk about there are no African Americans that are working from within our local community, you talk about there are no homes that were built that should reflect that we have these kinds of jobs like that in our communities. And most importantly, the makeup, where we have the majority of African Americans who live within the district. But most importantly, not just African Americans, but individuals that live within the district who are still not benefits of those kinds of jobs. So you may want to ask Monty Hodges what part of that he want to take credit for, not creating and reassuring that others will get a job other than his wife. Now, if you want to see a champion, now his wife, she works there. So
let me ask you this, sir.
He was responsible for her perhaps getting a job. Then maybe he want to take credit that he's responsible for a very, very, well, I don't even want to talk about it. It's not what I'm talking about out of several hundred jobs.
Well, just one other question. Just one other question.
And it happens so to be the same last name as his.
So I guess what you're saying is that I'll move on. I just go ahead and take your if you would, I just go ahead and just take the words. I don't want to put too much of my spin on it, but I do know now, and I'm pretty sure you read as well, to where the Black Caucus had a meeting, which Representative Hodges is a member of that caucus. They're at Steakhouse, and one of the concerns of the Black Caucus was setting aside special quotas, if you will, which means setting aside a percentage of the jobs that to be offered to the community. And I guess in the benefit of fairness, they wanted a percentage of those jobs to go to minorities, in particular Black people. And there was a representative from I forget this board that he sat on, representing some economic whatever. He indicated that if special quotas was going to be part of the deal in terms of building Big River Steel, that would be a game killer, if you will. So shouldn't the state representative have been a little bit more forceful in making sure that a percentage of jobs were in fact should have been part of the deal in terms of what is the word that I'm trying to use? Diversity. That's the word that I'm trying to use, diversity. Shouldn't the representative shouldn't he have pushed back saying you need to embrace diversity? I mean, shouldn't he have done that?
Well, Mr. Tony, I come from a very, again, I've been in ministry for over 30 plus years. I've seen where they use the word diversity. And I'm just going to paraphrase when you talk about pastoring. See, when you go to an African American church and you get one family of two that are white, then they say, we got a diverse ministry. Oh my God, really? You got 1,000 members and you got one family of two white, and they say we're diverse. Really? Really? So when you talk about maybe through his lens, and again, this goes back to the original format, that if he was part of the process, it depends on what part of the credit he wants to take. Because if he was at the table, and if he had anything to do, then those actually questions you need to ask him, why weren't they were included? And if they weren't included, why did he see to it that was such to be included? You know, Hollis, I say this in clarity, that one thing I know about good workers, great workers, employees, they don't have a problem with what color you are when you're a good worker. Okay? And that's one thing that I can openly bring clarity. Good workers are never determined by race. Good workers are determined by their performance. And when individuals can perform and provide the service that is needed, trust me when I say this, race is not a problem. That is not the biggest concern. The work ethics becomes the concern. The performance becomes the concern. So I like to make it very clear that when we that represent, because it's never going to be equal, and I say this very open to you, we talk about, yeah, all men were created equal, yeah, but that was in the eyesight of God until man got his hands on it. Because when we no longer look through the eye lens of God as Christians, and I am a Christian, and I have no reservation in saying this, when we only can look through the eye lens as God, then we can see our fellow brothers and sisters as equal. Race then plays no issue. It has no place.
Well, let me say this too. I'm just going to close out on my topic, and then I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor to go ahead and share a little bit more about, why you're running and, some of the things that you have done and what you plan on doing, should you become, win this seat for District 55. But the only other topic that I want to talk on before I turn it over to you to let you go ahead and close it out. I think it's fair to say that this country right now is probably is more divided going back to the 50s and the 60s. Everything is becoming so political. And some way or another, racism find its way into those discussions. I'm pretty sure you're aware of the number of black people in general across this country, unarmed black people who has been shot down. Uh, whether it's by the police officer or whether it's by someone taking the law into their own hand, vigilante style, trying to execute the law themselves. And we're living in a very hateful society nowadays. And we so often hear those who want to trash the slogan Black Lives Matter. But when we say Black Lives Matter, we're not saying that white lives don't matter or any other race lives don't matter. What we're saying is that why is it that black lives don't matter? And so I just want you to give us your spin on it. But before you answer that question, there is a gentleman who did ask a question to you, I believe, Brother Tyrone. He asked this question to you. He said, how do you feel about policing in the community? So before you talk about the racist society that we live in terms of how it's been polarized and been debated politically and elsewhere and in all other kind of ways. Before we get to that, let's go ahead and allow you to speak to this gentleman right here, Mr. Tyrone here, Brother Tyrone, what I call him. He said, how do you feel about policing in the community? So what is your spin on that, or your thoughts?
Thank you. And thank you for that question, Tony. And I will make myself available for anyone, Mr. Tony, that would have a question directed. I'll be glad to answer if time permit. But when you talk about policing in the community, I'll say with Mr. Tyrone, I was reminded when I was about a little boy. My father took me to town one day, and we all my brothers, we had a little old Volkswagen, a little yellow Volkswagen. And my father took us all the town to the grocery store, and he pulls up right by the police car. And my father opened the door and he let us all get out. And he walked over to the police officer and he introduced all of his boys, all of us that was in that car that day. And he spoke to the officer and said, "These are my sons." And he started from the top, and then he said, "And this is my baby, Gary." And that police officer shook all of our hands. And I never forget my father saying, "If any of these boys, I want you to know I'm going to do everything in my power to reassure you that you won't have any problem with these boys, because I'm going to see to it. I'm going to take care of it. But I also want you to know," he told us, his sons, that the police is here to serve us and protect us. They're not here for us to be afraid of. My father did that when I was a little boy. I thank my father for that. Because my father gave us an opportunity to, and by the way, does color really matter? No. Because back then there was very few, when you talk about, could identify in the communities where we lived. When you talk about policing today, I still think that is the same quality, that same kind of care and nurturing, development that still needs to take place. The same kind of care and involvement with the parents, and most importantly, the policemen. I've been able to identify, embrace, share, talk. Policemen are not to be feared. They should be one of the first responders that when we need the most for protection. We see police serve even with cats and firemen. When a dog or a cat is caught up in a tree, who do they call? First responders. And I want to thank God for our first responders, because policemen were never placed in our paths.
Do you think there should be police reform?
They were never meant to be placed in our communities, that the people that lives in that community should be afraid and to be fearful of them being protected by the law. So the areas where we talk about policing today, a matter of fact, my campaign manager and I, we actually were on a campaign trail about 4 months ago. We had an opportunity to meet one of our finest county workers, work for the county there in Mississippi County. Dwayne and I was having a cup of coffee at the end of the night. Officer walked, he was getting ready to make his entry in, and we were talking about, the shooting practices, and I want to know, what can I do? How can I, as a legislator, how can we talk about reinforcing better ways when it comes down to individuals who seem to appear that when guns are fired, it is for death and destruction immediately.
So
I asked that county worker, and you know something he said to me, Mr. Tony, that I never thought of? He said, "Mr. Tobar, we are trained to shoot at a certain area." He said, "We're not trained to shoot at the knee and below the leg and in the hand." He said, "We're trained to shoot in the center mass." Having that discussion, it changed my whole entire process. Why? I never wore a gun. I never put a gun on.
What?
I've never been a police officer. But when you think about what police officers are trained, how they are trained, and that's where we had a great conversation, even talking about how can we go back and even
speaking of training
practices, and how we can create new infrastructures that can actually help target the reinforcement of how So when I think about the police in our communities, this is where we got to go back to the grassroots of us having policemen who really are concerned not just for a paycheck. They're not there for a paycheck. They're there to save our community.
Well, let me ask you this here, and I'm gonna close on the subject of criminal justice. There has been a lot of talk, whether it's defunding the police, whether it's more police training, more community police relationship. What do you believe that actually has to happen to improve better policing as it relates to the community? Because right now there's a wall that separates police and the community. There's a trust factor. The community don't trust the police, and the police feel like their presence is not wanted. So, how do you bridge that gap? I mean, what will you offer in regards to bridging the gap, building trust between the community and the police? And we're gonna close on this criminal justice topic.
Well, I think that all of those three areas are key components. You know, Tony, it's just nice.
Are you not defunding the police?
I said it's nice to be nice, right?
Yeah.
And I always was taught that when you show respect, oftentimes you get respect, right? Now, I was taught that it may not be maybe 1 out of 100 may not go that route, but 99% of the time, when you show respect, you actually get it. When you talk about the police side, those are three components that I still think are very key. Because yes, having wonderful dialogue, having police that understand the landscape, also having the individuals who live in that community respect the law. Because you and I do know, Mr. Tony, we do have some that they don't respect the law. And so you got some bad apples mixed up in a barrel. And what we try to do, when I was growing up, my dad would never throw away the whole entire bushel of apples. He would find the bad one. And once he found the bad one, he would not always throw that apple away. He would just cut something off. There was enough to save. So meaning the individual, whether it's on the police side or whether it's the individual on the civilian side, identify that individual, identify the problem, not throw the person away, not just disconnect, but find the reasons why, and then begin to work with that individual. Oftentimes, you would be surprised that we got more things in common, because remember, our men and women that serve behind that badge, they're ordinary men and women who has a family and they want to go home too at the end of the day. And I think that's where a lot of times we forget. And that's why I respect our veterans, our men and women who serve in our army for protection, because oftentimes we forget when they put that uniform on, it's a whole different frame of mind.
Well, let me interject for a minute. Let me just interject for a minute, because this is a real important topic, criminal justice reform. Yes. And we can take up a whole segment on this here, but just for the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and move on, because I'm pretty sure they want to hear exactly what you have to offer as their candidate. But this last question right here, as it relates to criminal justice, this is from Mrs. Linda Cannon. And I'm pretty sure, as you know, she had a nephew who we buried back here a few months ago. There is a belief that her nephew, there's some relationship with his death, as it relates to him being in the custody of the Blythe Police Department. And she got I don't know if this is a statement she making or a question. She got county is different. I guess she's talking about from the police department. She said the county is different from Blythe police. Some police, excuse me, Blythe policemen is low down. What they did to my nephew was dead wrong. Again, she's speaking of her nephew. I'm pretty sure you know. Normally, I have my poster behind me. I got it somewhere here. Uh, uh, Her nephew, Rayshawn Warren. That young man, we buried him. The family buried him back here a few months ago. Uh, it is alleged that he received a crushed windpipe while in the physical custody of the Blythe Police Department. So I'm hearing everything you're saying for us trying to strike a balance between the community and the police. We're aware that everybody, not all that live in the community uh, is obeying the law. I mean, we understand that. But I guess what we're trying to get to the point is that, how do we build better community and police relations? And so that's going to be another topic that we're going to come back to talk on. But if you want to elaborate on uh, the thoughts of Mrs. Cannon, she just feel like the criminal justice system done let her and her family down. She's speaking about the Blythe Police Department. So what can you say to Mrs. Cannon to reassure her that there will be justice or there is justice in general for Black people here in Blytheville, Arkansas? I mean, how can you persuade her that the criminal justice system uh, is working for all people and not just some?
Well, first of all, I want to say to Miss Linda Cannon and her family, Miss Murphy, I'm very familiar with that family. Matter of fact, um, Tony, you and I were part of um, a walk that we engaged in during that time. That was one of the reasons why I came, along with Senator Wallace and myself. We wanted to participate where there has been injustice. And I want Miss Cannon and her family to know that we not only have been praying for you and your family, we're continuing to pray for you and your family in the time of your loss, of your loved one. Forgive me, forgive me. I didn't realize I'm connected to that family. I'm very sensitive to that family. But I want to say this very clear. Whenever a life is taken, and we do not place value on that life, regardless, that family, that loved one, life that is taken can never be brought back. And in order for us to raise the consciousness for like a life like Rashawn, we can no longer be silenced. When we talk about how can we make justice, we can now go back and reinforce what I've said before. There are federal laws. There are federal agents that are already in place. We don't have to go back and reinforce or create something new. Let's just stick with what's already there. We don't need to go out and try to make another cookie cutter. All we must do is reinforce what is already there. So I'm just simply saying that sometimes we have tried to place the answer on the mayor. We've tried to place the responsibility on the chief of police. But most importantly, we really need to go back to the federal side. where the law would be not only interpreted the way it has been written, but reinforced. And once this is done, this is one way that it would be reassured. Yeah, in small cases, for some that looks like a family, just because they don't have the right money, because they don't have the right last name, and we can sweep it under the rug. But if you got the right name and the right money, look like justice will be served. I just want to speak for a moment to let individuals know justice will be served. We must raise the consciousness that we will do everything in our power to fight for every person as an advocate, reassuring that equality will be served when there have been an injustice act.
Well, before we get going any more further into the criminal justice reform, um, I want to go ahead and extend you an opportunity because what voters want to hear, I'm pretty sure there's more than just uh, criminal justice, economic reform. There's other issues out there. Only you know better in regards to how you want to convey your message to the voters. And so I think your campaign manager illustrated that you have something that you want to talk about, ABDC. I don't know exactly what he was referring to, but uh, can you just, before we go any further, and I'm going to bring Dr. Adams back on a little bit, uh, can you go any further just briefly? I know time been spent real well, but just move real swiftly through those alphabetical A, B, C, D, and just give us exactly, what does that really mean when he start mentioning those alphabets?
Thank you, Tony. Well, going across District 55 over the last 36 months, I ran for this actual race back in 2018, started 2 years prior to that, or half a year prior to that, rather, and by a very narrowing margin, wasn't able to garnish the victory. And one of the things that I learned in that first election was understanding the landscape. And so, looking at the principles that I stand on, a lot of things that I believe in, and understanding what I would like to support, I had identified a lot of things. But that was one of the platforms that I said before, what I discovered in the makeup of District 55. When you understand that the makeup is approximately 51% African Americans, approximately 48% white, and then you understand the other 2% that is Hispanic. When you understand that makeup, it gave me an opportunity to realize out of all of the indifferences, we got more things in common. I realized that. When I realized and tried to compare and lay out some of the common things, I went back with Dwayne and Team Tobar 55. We got back on the ground and we tried to shape some of the real main key areas that stands out the most. Where are the common desired needs and some of the common main areas that really identifies District 55. And the 5 component that really makes up District 55, that's how we alphabetized. We made it very educational and friendly. So we came up with the A, B, C, D, E. A, number 1, stands for agriculture. Agriculture, our farmers. Tony, I don't know if you realize this or not, but our farmers are the largest stakeholders in District 55. Not industry, not the steel industry. No, our farmers. Agriculture is the number 1 stakeholder in District 55. There was a story that I was told by Emily. I always quoted by Miss Emily. She was reminded of her grandfather who said, one day in your lifetime, you will need a doctor, a lawyer, or a preacher. But every day, 3 times a day, you will need a farmer. And agriculture plays such a major role is because that's why you see over the last several months, started in June, where Councilman Lowry was one of my first Team Tobar on hand of individuals who work with Dwayne and I to start working with just the small boxes of 40 and 50, 100 boxes. Now we're serving over 25,000 pounds of fresh fruit and vegetables and meat now that's in the box. And guess what? It's because of our farmers. So I want to take our time to say thank our farmers for not only providing the quality of a food and a service, but also staying where you are, because oftentimes you spend so much of money, time, and energy before you even see a return on your dollar. And for most of them, sometimes don't even see very little to anything. So I want to thank God for our farmers, and that's why we came up with Aid for Agriculture, because 80% of District 55, the makeup. Matter of fact, Tony, when I say 80% too, 80% of our rice that feeds the world, guess what, comes out of Arkansas. Did you know that? 80% of the world rice comes right out of the great state of Arkansas. B, when you talk about B, alphabet B for business, I understand what business is all about. Because when I understood the language, I understand me as a small businessman, past businessman, a lot of the small businesses that really makes up America. Not the large business, it's the small business that really create more jobs and make the greatest impacts. Because when you talk about some of these big businesses, Tony, some of these big businesses are in the area not even really paying direct tax, not even spending money direct within the community. Big business, I mean, building homes and all of that. Dollars that could come back to us, they're not even living in the communities. Big businesses. So when you talk about small businesses, I understand what small businesses is. Small businesses not only create jobs, but those dollars that are circulating back because they stay within, get up every morning, go to work, whether it's 4 or 5 employees or whether it's 10 employees. All of those families are still right there in the community.
I want to ask you something.
I
want to ask you something real quick. Let me stop you right. Let me stop you right quick on business, right quick.
Yes, sir.
On the business. Let me just stop you right there, just on business. That's very important. You know, there's a gentleman in the community that keep in touch with the Small Business Administration. They're in Little Rock.
Yes, sir.
I am told that every year there is an exceptional amount of money, high dollar figures in the millions. There is a percentage of that money that is set to the side. All this is up under the what they call the Small Business Administration. They set aside a percentage of that money to do XYZ and for a particular demographics. I'm told every year that there are $1 million that are left on the table that can benefit the minority community, black people in general. As a state legislator, if you are elected, how can you work with the small business entrepreneurship here in Mississippi County, District 55? How can you work with them to assure that whatever dollars that are on the table, that they have access, because that's your key word of accessibility?
Yes.
How can you assure that our small businesses, entrepreneurship, especially people of color who have fallen between the cracks so many times, how can you assure that they will have equally access to capital for their businesses if you are the candidate to be fortunate enough to be sent to Little Rock as our representative? How can you assure them?
Well, one thing, again, Tony, that's a great question because believe it or not, when you talk about business, you speak to individuals who understand business. And when you go into business, normally the people that really goes into business, their heart, it's a passion, it's a part of the service or goods that they want to actually share. Not only that will they would benefit, but most importantly, the community at large, right? So when you talk about small businesses, creating a liaison. Matter of fact, campaign manager Dwayne and I, we're actually entertaining and talking about one of the great steps that we have already identified. One of the weak things that we have not had, one of the things that I focused on is that we've never had a direct location, an office here in our district that could be a liaison, that we can have a place where individuals that can come to access information, that we can have a presence within the district and part that having access from the state, not just when it's election time, but every week, every month, 12 months out of the year, that we can build these relationships, identifying some of the greatest desires and needs for the small businesses that these individuals directly have access to me on the state level. So we're already focusing on how we are creating this as an opportunity to better set up an outfit that can work within the district, that instead of us always trying to get to Little Rock, under my administration, and I believe in serving, we'll bring Little Rock back to you. We'll still be right here in the community, working on the better behalf of our business leaders. Who are
Pick back up on your alphabets then.
when you
I
talk
just
about
want to
C,
interject.
when you talk about C, C is for community. You and I know there's a grassroots is having community involvement. You and I know that regardless of some of our growing pains that we have identified with, some of the reasons why I've identified some of the reasons why our teenagers and young people sometimes are expressing themselves is because they don't have any community activities involvement. They don't have really a place to go in our community. You know, certain places may have a Boys and Girls Club, but in some of our communities, where are they? You know, say for instance, you talk about community involvement, you talk about a young man who says he doesn't have a father in his house. But if you have a community involvement center and a site where there's a big brother and little brother relationships that are being built, that's what community is about. What about that young lady, Mr. Hollis, who says, well, if I could just have someone who understands me, that I can have the kind of counseling that can identify some of the things that I'm facing, because I don't know when I go to school, I'm not treated the same. But when you have a community outlet, not during school, but after school, where that young lady can identify, go to another site that can help refreshing her ideas, help reshape her mind, and also give her an opportunity. This is what community is about. We need community facilities. You know, we talk about what's going on in our communities. Where is one building that Monty Hodges has brought in our community? What is one community facilities, even right there in Bible? You know, look like to me that if you got good business with Big River, I would be very open to say, Big River, let's bring some of that steel over here. Let's build some building, infrastructure, District 55. And I don't want to be sounding like I'm all of that, but how about starting life in my community where I grew up in? There's a lot of lots that are going available. You know, we're tearing down a lot of houses, right? Empty lots, but nothing going back on them. Let's put the facilities in there. Let's build a community center for these young people can have an outlet so they can go out. Matter of fact, we talk about community. Our children need more resources just going to school. And when they go to school, if they don't have the basketball gym open or the gym when they're playing basketball, that's it. They don't have no other place to go other than utilizing the school. But why don't we create an outlet that the children can have a community facilities right there in their own community. We talk about D. D is for development. Development is what is needed in District 55. I wish you had joined me yesterday because Team Tobar 55, oh my goodness, we was at Aeroplex. Aeroplex is out on Air Force Base. And boy, you talking about Tony, we brought in some of the fastest street legal cars on the planet. Over 100 plus drivers, 20 plus different states that represented from across the country came to District 55 this past weekend as of Friday, Saturday, and they left out today. Even I was had an opportunity to get in that Lamborghini, $750,000 toy that the guy says, hey, Bob is big enough, Aeroplex is big enough, they want to welcome us in. And guess what that's about, Tony? It's about opening up relationships. It's about opening up business opportunities for other businesses that can see our landscape. I know some of us say, some people might say, oh, Bravo is washed up. Gotham is washed up. Ain't nothing going on. Well, guess what? I'm saying Blyville, Osceola, Luxor, Turtle, Gilmore. These are places that if you would come to our district, District 55, that has an opportunity that everybody can come and see developing opportunities. Opportunities where there's Interstate 55 and a 40, a Mississippi River and a railroad, the second largest airport in the United States, right here in District 55. Opportunity for great development. Developing not only businesses, but also housing. Housing for a young lady who's working, her fingers to the bone, and yet she has to go to an apartment that she doesn't have the space for her and the children. Let's build houses for her. Develop homes that she can be able to afford to get a home that not as a renter, but as a homeowner, stakeholder. Building these kinds of infrastructures that we're talking about developing. And finally, E. E is for education. I understand what education is about. The realness of this is I had the opportunity, Dwayne and I had an opportunity to meet our U.S. Senator Bosa, who came to ANC, where Dwayne and I both are alumni. Back then it was called MCCC. Today it's called ANC. And we had an opportunity to make an entry with the president and his staff and committee. They took us on a tour that talked about education, tools, giving an opportunity that you don't necessarily have to get a 2 and 4 year degree, but creating opportunities through marketing that you can have a job less than 9 months, that you can go identify a skill through construction and get out and make, oh my goodness, $7,500,000. But learning that educational side, what it takes to go there, understanding that from 3 of the superintendents that I must say have played a major role in my life. A superintendent right there in Blyville, Arkansas, who was one of my teachers. A superintendent there in Osceola, Arkansas now, who was one of my school teachers. Go down to the final Rivercrest, where the champion of education, one of my instructors, and then now the president and vice president of ANC are all key components of reason why I am where I am, because of I'm understanding education. So if I'm not qualified, Tony, you can blame all 5 of them, because right now, from the president of the college to 3 of the superintendents and even the vice president of the college, I've been responsible for sitting under their tutelage. So I'm very open and compassionate about education. So that's my ABCDE platform.
All right then.
And Tony, I was out yesterday on the Aeroplex, and Dwayne and I had an opportunity. I don't have my book with me on my table, but there's a book that down, I met with two of the Rangers. The book is titled Black Hawk Down. Men that served, two of those out of that aeroplex with me yesterday. And we talked about the men and women of service. And see, one of the things that I'm very honored to say is because, again, I couldn't put everything on the platform, but I am going to say this in closing. I understand with our men and women, like Senator Dave Wallace, who have served our country, the V does stand for veterans. And I want you all to know I appreciate all of the work that is going out. I will continue to be an alliance representing, understanding the makeup out of 100 seats, 76 that have identified who are working with me, who are calling and reaching out to me constantly throughout the day. I want to say thank you. Out of 35 senators, 27 of those senators have already reached out. Matter of fact, the Speaker of the House was with me yesterday, helped me put out signs, left into the Benton area, drove 5 and 6 hours just to get here, to work with me in the campaign, hands on the ground, boots on the ground to say, we're here. A congressman, our congressman, Rick Crawford, who's not only been here once but twice, who says I'm willing to be here. A second lieutenant, our lieutenant governor, our colonel, by the way, who's currently serving in our army right now, Tim Griffin, who will be with us in the next week to come on the 13th, coming to District 55, reassuring that they're here to stand with me as your next state representative for District 55. What an alliance to have, Tony. What a great alliance to have. Tommy Land, who's over the Land Commission, he's already been here. Our Attorney General, who's already sent her support, already been engaged with us. Our First District Chairlady, Julia Fields, who's been here several times, representing our entire District 1, who came to say, I'm here. And most importantly, our chairman, the chairman of the state of Arkansas, who happens so to be the #1 legal counsel for the United States representing our party, Mr. Doyle Wells. He's also been here with us, and he's shown us his support, and he was with us here on Labor Day weekend, letting District 55 know that you are not alone, and they are showing their alliance. And there's my favorite mom that I know, I must say, because of her, who has been the advocate for pro-life, Senator Bledsoe, Senator Cecil Bledsoe, who put something in place. Because when I was told the story, that because of the mere fact that we're giving everyone an opportunity to give life and let life live. You know, Tony, I told you that story, that how a lady who was born, who had a child, lost miscarriage twice, had 10 children, had already lost 2 before she was at the age of 30. And the doctors told her to get her tubes tied back in the 60s. And how the story would go on to tell you that how she ended up going to the doctor, and the doctor told her to get her tubes tied. And she said, I don't believe in getting my tubes tied. If the Lord wants that anyone, if the child is born, I'll let the Lord do it. But the doctor insisted she had her tubes tied. A couple years later, the story would tell you how that lady was sick and didn't realize why she was sick. She went back to the doctor and told the doctor, I haven't been feeling good. The doctor tested her, found out she was 4 months pregnant. And he said, abort the baby. She said, I listened to you the first time. I did not even want to get my tubes tied. But now I'm pregnant and you want me to abort the baby? The doctor told her, it's not even safe for you to carry, and the child may not even survive. The lady went on to say, apparently God wanted that child to live. 2 months later, that lady had an accident and they airborne her to the hospital. Memphis, Tennessee. And when they got there, they had to give her a cesarean. The child weighed 2 pounds and 3 ounces. They told that lady if that child lived, it would be a miracle. And if that child lived, it would be a vegetable and would need her support all of its life. Today, 50 years later, I want you to know I'm that child.
All right. All right. All right, then. Yeah, go ahead and give yourself a round of applause.
I want you to know, because my mother, who did not listen to the doctor, yes, she had a choice. I'm a 4-month preemie before my time. But look what God has allowed. I say this to Senator Cecil Bledsoe, who reinforced as a champion and an advocate to reinforce. It is because the baby box legislator that guarantees if a mother who gets pregnant and even desires not to keep the child even after that child is born, she has created such a law that says if you do not want to keep that baby and do not even want to be identified, they have now prepared sites that you can take that baby, that child can be placed in a safe box, that you can put that child into that box. Once that box is open and closed, it is secured. All first responders are immediately notified. Every first responder will be responding to where that location of that baby box, reassuring within minutes of that box closing, that child will be picked up and taken to the hospital for safe assessment and evaluation, and most importantly, life is saved. I want to thank Senator Cecil Bledsoe that I will make a covenant with her today. I will continue to be an advocate because I am too a prime example of having pro-choice. I am for pro-life.
Well, all right then. I'm pretty sure is the women here you give your testimony in regards to your own personal story and your mom. Uh, I think it's fair to say that you will be a true advocate for women's rights. Before we close out, this is a pretty long message. Since you was talking on women's rights, um, we have a question. I don't know, maybe it's a statement, but this here is along the women's rights, and I think it ties into the Bible. But this is a question from Mrs. Donna Audrey. He is an effective legislator that should have attributes to votes, conscious of irreconcilable conflict. He should represent us as trustee of our District 55. He, I'm thinking, I don't know if she meaning you or Monty. My question is, as a woman, why he is not voting? He, I guess, meaning Monty. Why is he not voting with a yes or no for reassurance involving some major women issues, rights, self-determination on some issues, choices. She referenced a bill, HB 1626 Act 1016, Bible course in public school, high school credit district that want to offer it. Anyway, she's speaking on some issues as it relates to women's rights, and the Bible, of course, supports being taught in school, and at the same time, uh, showing her disapproval as to why the president state representative uh, is not participating in those bills or what have you in terms of a vote. But anyway, that's another. I'm pretty sure you went through that as well as you were speaking in your own personal uh, testimony in regards to your mom. There's so much that we need to cover. We're not going to be able to get it all in one segment. Hopefully, if if your time schedule allow you, maybe if not yourself or maybe one of your representatives can come back. But before I close out, I'm gonna come back to you. I just like to
Thank you.
bring Dr. Adams on, and I want everyone to take about 3 minutes to go ahead and close out as trying to compare and contrast why Mr. Gary Tobar is the better candidate
Thank you.
for District 55. I want each one of you to take about 3 minutes because I know the time been well spent. Take about 3 minutes. We're gonna first go with Dr. Adams and then Brother Mays, and then we'll let candidate Tobar close it out. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So we'll bring on Dr. Adams. We'll bring him back on. He's been patiently waiting for us. I want to say, Dr. Adams, I want to thank you for your patience. For waiting on us to get back with you. Um, but anyway, I want you to go ahead. You've been very hands-on in candidate Mr. Gary Tobar campaign for years now. You know him well, and so therefore, I think you are more than qualified to speak to the voters as to why you believe that the next state representative, Mr. Gary Tobar, will serve better than Mr. Monty Hodges. So now I extend that time to you and let you speak.
Thank you so much, Professor Hollis. But
Uh-huh.
before I do that, if I could just go back to the question that was asked about community policing and what can be done, and that was a
Uh-huh.
and that was stated about county sheriff and police being different from the Bible police. And I just wrote down a few things, and I just wanted to share those things with you because I know this is a passion for you as well. One of the things I first wrote down was hiring police officers who are from the community. I found
Mhm.
out that when you have people whom you have grown up with, who are part of your community, who are part of your church and civic organizations. Those are the kinds of people that understand the mentality of the people that are part of your immediate community. And they know people by name and they know
Uh-huh.
families by name, and they're more uh, inclined to give them the benefit of the doubt before enforcing, being real strong police officers and pulling the trigger. And so, hiring police officers who are from the community will certainly help to improve community relations. Number two,
Mhm.
passing laws from the local level. Uh, that's where it starts. You've got your city council, you've got other law entities uh, that can hold the police department and the police officers accountable through the passing of laws. And one of the things that happens is there's a lack of accountability by the officers and the command staff. And when you hold them accountable, when you hold
Totally agree.
those who are in charge accountable for the action of their subordinates, and if they don't do right, then you demand the resignation of whomever it is. And I don't know who it is that's responsible. I do know in Memphis and Shelby County that the mayor is responsible for uh, appointing the director of police, and there have been instances where the mayor has fired several police chiefs. And so when people get to the point of the police not being accountable, the chief of police being not accountable, and the mayor not being accountable. That's what the ballot is all about. There are term limits, and government is of the people, by the people, and for the people. And there should never be an us versus them mentality when it comes to police service, because they are hired to protect and to serve. And so if we're not being protected, then they are not serving our best interests. I'd also like to say, I think I wrote something else down as well. Uh, Passing laws, lack of accountability, holding your uh, chief executive officers of your mayor, your council, and everybody ought to have an equal responsibility. If not, then fire your councilman. If not, fire your mayor. I mean, nobody's in office for life, and nobody has entitlement for life. And so uh, there ought to be somewhere for there to be redress of grievances. And when they are not redressed, then the people have a choice to make: either accept what is going on or band together as one and clean house. So I just wanted to share that with you on this evening. Thank you so very much for that.
And Dr. Adams, I want to thank you for actually going into a lot deeper for as um, those things of what can be done. Especially you mentioned some things could be done at the local level. I like what you stated about accountability. From the council to the mayor to the police chief. I mean, spread it abroad. Uh, Lack of accountability, as we know it now, is something that is a big issue just about in every municipality. And so I'm glad you come back and hit notes, make some notation on it to come back to really elaborate a bit more on it. Hopefully we can come back sometime in the near future and probably just have a segment on community, better community and police relations. And so I thank you for that. I thank you for coming on today. And let's not be a stranger, okay?
Thank you for having me.
All right, then. Let me go back to my two guests here and let Brother Mays go ahead and give me uh, his ins and outs in regards to what he believes as it relates to candidate Tobar, as to why he believed that candidate Tobar was the better candidate to serve for District 55 uh, compared to his opposition, Mr. Monty Hodges. So, Brother Mays, go ahead and kind of shoot real quickly for us for 3 minutes. I know you may be long-winded, but uh, in your own unique way, tell us why you believe that your candidate is the better candidate.
Well, Tony, the reason why I believe that Gary Tobar is the best candidate for District 55, uh, first of all, I want everyone to know, stay focused that this is a state election, not a national election. So when you hear all the rhetoric that's going on a national level, that's not what's happening in District 55. So get that out of your mind. Remember that Gary Tobar is people driven, not party driven. We're not asking people to change parties. Stay focused on who's the best representative that's going to represent your needs and can get those to the table. We spent the last 36 months building relationships from the national, congressional, state, as well as local levels. So we weren't just out talking to constituents. We built a balanced portfolio of relationships. And all of the leaders are now saying that the R in Tobar stands for reconnecting at all levels, so that when he goes into office, he can hit the ground running. So he already has a base and a platform. So he's already been forward thinking and planning. Another thing I want people to know, we always get the question, well, why are you running against Monty Hodges? Well, first of all, his term is up. We're not running against him. We're running for the seat. Another thing a lot of people are surprised at is Monty, Rhonda, Gary, myself, we were all in college together at MCCC. So it's not anything personal, it's just business. We are all constituents under his leadership, and we've viewed the landscape, we've heard the people, we've heard the leadership, we've listened to all of the mayors from all of the cities in this district, and they all have said the same thing. We need someone that's going to be responsive and someone that's going to be a voice for us, because we have too many needs, and those needs are just not getting met, and those needs are not at the table in Little Rock. Congressman Crawford stated it very well. If you go back and look on our Facebook and see Congressman Crawford on his video, he stated, I need a person like Gary Tobar that I can work with in Little Rock, because he understands the landscape, he understands and knows how to connect the dots from his A, B, C, D, E. And I need someone that's willing to reach out to me and tell me what your needs are so I can help you on a national level. He said, and he stated, Gary Tobar is that man. So building relationships, understanding the landscape, being willing to change your mind to vote for the best person. We're not asking you to change a party. We're just saying vote for the best person. His credibility stands for itself. We go back 30 plus years of friendship. We go back 30 plus years in working in this community. I have 25 plus years working in this area, and people know our relationships, that we have always been community driven and people driven. So what they see is who we've been for the last 25, 30 years. So it's nothing new. We're just simply have moved to a position that we've heard the people, and they said it's time for a change. So we're asking everyone, starting on October the 19th, go to the polls and raise the bar for Tobar. Exercise your right to vote. Remember that Monday, October the 5th.
I look like we lost him again. Uh, I'm pretty sure. Oh,
It's
there
the
you go.
last Monday is the last day to register to vote if you need to register to vote. And so we're just asking everyone, October the 19th, go to the polls and vote. Tobar, raise the bar with Tobar.
Well, all right then, gentlemen. I want to say it's been great. Of course, we're going to let the candidate, uh, Mr. Gary Tobar, go ahead and have the final words, and hopefully, something will have been said thus far that will work in his favor. So, without uh, any more delay, I want to go ahead and give Mr. Gary Tobar, candidate for District 55 State Representative, the last words. My brother, testify. I'm pretty sure you know about that word. Testify.
Tony, again, thank you again for allowing us to be on your
No
show.
problem.
I still say you are an advocate, and I am very selective where I go, what I get involved with. I do choose the fights. The fights that I choose to fight, I'm going to win them. This is one fight that I've chose to fight, and this is for the people. This is a fight that I'm fighting for the people. I recognize that the things that I've learned and have been able to grow over my life. This is a moment, a defining moment, not only just for District 55, but for making Arkansas a greater Arkansas. You know, Tony, something that I really know that the census have been a very another area that I've been focusing on. Again, I have a team of people that have really, when I say Team Tobar 55, I really mean these are women and men that have taken ownership of their ability to get involved. And I want to say to all of them that have been getting involved, these are men and women that really are my heroes, who are their work that has been going on for months and months, working untiringly, doing what they do, not to be seen, but to make a difference. And I want to say to every individual, the census, if you haven't filled out your census, I don't know, I believe the deadline has been expanded. I hope and pray, because we need, we really have been focusing, Councilman James Lowry and I, we've tried to do some things with the mayor just here last weekend, trying to work with the census, reassuring that the census make more difference than what a lot of people can ever imagine, because whatever happens in the census is going to make an impact for the next 10 years. That's how great this actual election is. 2020 election for District 55, the next 2 years will not only determine the 2 years, but for the next half of the century. Because if we allow what we've seen in the last 8 years to be added to make this guy 2, it's going to set us back another 30 years behind. We've already been disconnected. We're already trying to stay afloat. We're really trying to figure out what can we do to survive. The only alternative there is now is to vote Gary Tobar. Vote because I'm here for you. I want to make a difference, not only local, I want to make it county, I want to make it state, because we want to make a difference in everyone's life. My platform speaks for itself. If you would ask your present state representative, who have served for the last 8 years, if you ask him the question, what has he championed? What has he sponsored? There's a difference between sponsored, co-sponsored. Support, oh, we all are supporters. But real leaders, we're advocates. We're change agents. We're not just in the line, we're in the front of the line. And we just don't get involved when someone else has already got the project started. We're the one that begin to make it happen. And that's why I'm asking you, if you would give us one opportunity, I can reassure you, November the 3rd, when you say you want change, when you say you want a better community, when you say you want, how can we create a better county? How can we create a better district? Gary Tobar. With your vote, with your support, as Dwayne stated, we are people and community driven, giving us an opportunity only to align ourselves with an olive branch that 76 other leaders in the state house has already extended their hand toward me. 27 other senators, along with our #1 senator, Senator Dave Wallace, who represent our district and our Senate district, who has already said, Gary, I'm looking forward in working with you. I'm looking forward in working with you. What an honor. When you talk about a co-laborer like Johnny Wright, who's already part of our District 1, 2 great representatives and a wonderful senator, that you'll get a chance to be a strong advocate, representing you, not fighting. I'm not a selfish individual, I'm selfless. I will make the same covenant that I've always made to my real friends. My friends understand I don't make promises. I'm a covenant, and I make covenant for life. I will give the best that I can do to represent each and every last one of you, being part of a party who has been a party, who has been a champion and advocate for humanity. Giving me this opportunity will only show that I can do in my first 2 years what your present representative hasn't done in 8. He hasn't brought and championed one bill. He hasn't sponsored one bill for District 55. I want to be very clear. I'm not talking about what he does in other areas. I was taught charity starts at home. If you always want to show how good you are, start at home. No one gets mad at anyone for taking care of home first. District 55, it's my home. And I will stand in alliance with every other state official, reassuring them that we will have a bipartisan and a family, brother, and sister relationship, that we will work for the betterment for all humanity, including District 55. Thank you, Tony, for allowing me to come on your show, testify, one of the greatest advocates that our voices will be heard. Thank you, and may God bless you.
Well, my brother, Mr. Gary Tobar, I thank you for coming on. I thank Dr. Adams as well, and Brother Mays. I thank all three of you gentlemen. Of course, I was very much a part of this great team back 2 years ago. But unfortunately, so many things that has occurred in my personal life, um, as well as my business life as well. I just, I just, I couldn't, I couldn't chew too much without getting choked. Let's just put it like that. But I wanna thank each one of you for coming on. It's been an honor for you taking time out of your busy schedule to come and speak with us. And I just want to say, don't be a stranger. Please, let's stay in touch. And I want to wish all of you the very best that life has to offer. So, in saying that, I want to say, as I always say, closing out the broadcast, peace and love to all of you, and God bless.
All right. God bless you. Thank you, Tony.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was our state representative uh, candidate, Gary Tobar. Uh, he is once again challenging the incumbent, Monty Hodges. He said a whole lot tonight. He had a lot on his plate. Uh, and if you all didn't pick that up, he had his poster behind him. The ABCD. It's kind of like school, A for agriculture, I believe he called it. B for business. C for community. D for development. And E for education. I will say those are four, or should I say five most very important components that we can insert, or should I say part of all of our lives, And so hopefully he have said something tonight that uh, have somewhat enlightened you, uh, that have somewhat informed you, that have gave you a better idea when it comes to compare and contrast between him as the hopeful candidate as opposed to the present candidate as what you have now. So hopefully something was said that will help you be better informed going forward when on October the 19th, early voting, or November the 3rd, when you go and cast your vote. You're informed now. So please, there's an old slogan that say, I think someone put it out, vote smart. Okay? Vote smart. The only way you vote smart is that you have to be able to compare and contrast between the two candidates. Look at what you have had, or shall I say lack thereof, versus to what you can be somewhat assured of your future having some type of brighter day in it. I hope I'm kind of conveying my words in a sense that you understand. But anyway, it's been a long day. Again, please do get out to vote. October the 19th, early voting, November the 3rd, election day. So I want to go back over to my banner to make sure I didn't leave out anyone question over here. Uh, of course, Mrs. Donna Aldrich, she's pretty full in regards to some of the issues she talked about. She kind of hit home on certain bills that the present state legislator either have uh, failed to vote on or was absent on the vote. She mentioned some things in regards to women rights. She mentioned some things, well, something about uh, biblical or the Bible being part of, uh, I wouldn't say part of the curriculum, but she mentioned a lot of things to where she feel that I guess the state representative have somewhat uh, let her down, or should I say, women in general, especially as it relates to those women rights, the women issues, and that's where there we saw a compare and contrast between uh, candidate Gary Hodges, Gary Tobar. I'm calling him Hodges again, Gary Tobar, as opposed to Monty Hodges, um, women rights. And so, candidate Gary Tobar had a very emotional, uh, uh, personal experience that he shared with you all as it relates to women issues, women rights. And so, hopefully, if no other group have somewhat listened dearly tonight, hopefully the women have listened. Uh, Candidate Gary Tobar has indicated that he will be your strongest advocate, champion when it comes to women rights. And so we're going to go ahead and conclude this broadcast and say, do catch us come Tuesday. Right now, I'm in between is what kind of show we're going to do. It may be election or it may be something else, but come Tuesday, we will air. So without any more delay, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. And as I always say when I close out this show, peace and love, and God bless.